Hey guys, good morning. Friday morning, truck's behind me. I'm gonna go ahead and check some stuff. I gotta go out and get a set of spark plugs. I run out of CO2. I'm gonna go over the shock adjustments. I'll get everything kind of checked over before we hit this testing tune tonight. And hopefully we learn more things and do a little bit better. But let me get after it. Okay, so let's talk about that first pass. The first pass, it obviously spun right out the gate. On that first pass, I did up the tire pressure to 20 because, it's test and tune. That's what you do. We test and we try to figure out what works and what doesn't. I did notice something, though, that I didn't notice right off the bat in the slow-mo video was that it appears that initially it hooks. So after this, I'm going to show you a slow-mo video of that first pass, and you see what I'm talking about. But it really looks like it hooks, and then it bounces, and it spins. And that was on 20 PSI. So, yeah, I think, after seeing that, I just thought it was spinning initially. So after seeing that, what I've realized is I'm kind of working around that with the way I'm pouring the boost in and these next two passes. I think letting the tire pressure out, it really helps too. But I like to put the tire pressure back up to 20, maybe either hit it a little bit harder or slow the extension down. Because I have the compression almost full tight, so I'd like to slow the compression down, or the extension down, and hit it harder and maybe see if that'll help out with it. But, we won't know until we go back and just continue to test. So let's go on to the second pass. Okay, here's pass number 2. Here's some of the data from pass number 2. So we're going to zoom in the entire pass. First thing to note, TPS is up here in the green. So you can see I actually let out of it. And for no particular reason, I think it was just because I was anticipating it slipping. This blue line right here is trans brake, so you're letting off the trans brake. The red line is our RPM. So yeah, this one didn't go too bad. I did let the tire pressure out, changed a couple shock settings, and it went. I think we were only making 10 pounds of boost. So I did turn it up on the backside just a little bit. There's no sense in stressing it out if I can't get the first little bit down. I've been trying to get better at logging more information and using the computer instead of having all these little slips. So if I go to properties and we click on drag race, so here's the numbers from the slip. So you see it went a 165. It's not the first time we went 165. Then we went 11, 12 at 119. So mile an hour just a little bit. I also think, if I remember, I might have gave it a degree of timing or half degree of timing or something. But, not the fastest eighth mile, not the fastest quarter. The density altitude was at like 2,500 feet. When I ran some of these best times, I think the DA was actually either 0 or negative, which, obviously better air, things can be faster, can be more power. But yeah, so that's that one. So at this point, it's pretty obvious, at least to me, that I can make it somewhat repeatable, which is good. Repeatable is good, but we want to get this 60 down for sure. So just some stuff to note. Let's look at the next pass. Pass number 3, we can zoom in on this one right here. So we were making 4.5 pounds on the brake. Again, remember this teal line is our brake. So 4.5 pounds on the brake. We are making, look right here, about 10 pounds out the back. Is the first, second, third. Another thing I'm fighting too, I'm going to put the shift light back in, and I figured I could use a dash, and I think I just prefer that shift light. So I do have the highlight shift light that I'm going to stick back in it, because I am having these weird problems with, I'll show you a diagnostic. So we'll zoom in a little bit. This spike, so here's your RPM, right? First gear, second gear, third gear. This spike right here is when the main rev limiter kicks in. And that time is not too bad. It's funny, I have it set for 6,300, and then the low side is like 6,270 or 6,250. So that means it turns on at 6,300, doesn't turn off until 62. Sometimes it would appear that it's actually coming on sooner, which is kind of weird. I know some people are saying, you know, it has something to do with the frame, how many frames per second you're logging to. So I think these logs are at 50. If you do 100, it takes forever to download, but it's more accurate. So I'd be curious to do 100, but something that's probably really going to help me as far as consistency goes is putting that shift light in there instead of trying to look down and watch the dash, because there is a little bit of lag in that dash as well. So, you know, whatever. But anyway, again, this is a third pass. We'll look at the time slip I put in here. So this one actually won it a 163. 1110 at 117. The reason why mile an hour is slower, so you know, obviously we pick up 2/10 on the 60. That's cool. But the reason why mile an hour is slower is, believe it or not, I actually let off through the end. And you can't tell that per se by the log. Something I like to do is drive shaft speed. But I definitely let off through the end of the track, so that's why mile an hour a little bit lower. That might have been closer to an 11.0. But I am happy, you know, that 163. I think we ramped the boost in sooner this time. Let's see, so we're still making 4.5 pounds on the brake, about 3,600 RPM. Let's look at the tunes real quick. So again, this was pass number 3. And now we talked about how I structure my tunes. So this is number 3. We're gonna open log number 3. Look at the boost curve, boost versus time. So it would appear that on this last pass at 163, let's see, 0, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 1. So at 1.2 seconds, we were all in. I think I brought, if I remember right, we can actually look at the other log. I think I brought the boost in just a little bit quicker, and it kind of helped out. So remember those numbers, right? 5.5, 5.9, 7.7. So let's go back here. We'll go to the second pass, which was the 165. Here, boost versus time. See, I did. So yeah, it was, so I did roll the boost in just a little bit sooner. It seemed to help. I don't know. Overall, let's see, 0, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 1. So yeah, still was all in by 1.2. If we were able to make another pass, which you're getting ready to see, I probably would have brought it all in by 1 second or 1.8. That would have helped get that 60 down too. But as you can tell, we are making steps in the right direction. I still think revalving the shocks are going to help, and just some more testing tuning to figure out what the truck wants. And you know, if I can do this on this SS Street tire, I really feel like going to a Pro Bracker, it'll make my life a lot easier. This is annoying and it's frustrating, but I'm really learning how this stuff works. So that was pass number 3. So let's continue. Okay, Saturday morning, I'm already out messing around in the garage. Let me show you what happened after that third pass last night. See, the 12 valve is hooked to a car trailer. Here's hint number 1. Let's walk around here and see why. So we were doing pretty good, as you're gonna be able to tell in the video. After that third pass, we got back, we smelled transmission fluid. My dad and I started looking around underneath this thing, couldn't find anything. Could smell it real strong, kind of by the dipstick. Looked around again, and sure enough, a bunch of trans fluid coming out of the bell housing. So what happened was, obviously the front pump seal, it's getting past the front pump seal is what I'm thinking. Normally when you have transmission fluid by the bell housing, it's one of two things. It's either the converter's cracked, which that happens on some vehicles. That's a whole nother story when you work on that stuff for a living. Or the front pump seal went out. Actually, you can see if you look right there really closely, there's a spot of oil. If we go up under there, well, you'll see transmission fluid all over the bell housing. So I wanted to pull this thing back out. We smelled that transmission fluid after that last pass. Yeah, she's already up on jack stands. Here, let me flip the camera around. So here's the deal. I do believe what happened here is we had all those converter problems before. and you know, we had no fluid running through the thing, and whatever. And actually, if you looked at the old input, that's whatever you would call it, the input coming out of that converter, the part that slides into the actual pump, it was blued, which means it got hot because there's no fluid running through it. Now what I didn't do is I put a new pump seal in it, but I did put a bushing in it, so I'm sure there's probably something going on with that bushing. There's probably a little bit too much clearance in it. That bushing holds that pumps, you know, helps to hold that pump in place, so that seal does the best job it can do. So if the bushing's worn, the seal's not going to work, so on and so forth. So I'm going to have to pull this thing out, probably just pull the pump out of it, put a seal and a bushing in it. Hopefully the rest is okay, because after that third pass, when we smelled that fluid, you know, we started talking. I'm like, look, I'm done for the night. I'm not going to push it. So I jumped in it. And even after getting in it, you know, as soon as we made that pass, put the street tune in it, got in it, put it in reverse, like I felt like it was low in fluid. So I was able to get out of the parking lot, start going down the road, and the farther I got, I was just like, this isn't right. I got to pull over. I might have made it maybe a mile. So Dad ran back, got 4 quarts of trans fluid in the trailer, you know, did all that, you know, put the trans fluid in it and everything. Then it moved and we got up on the trailer. Now this morning when I backed it off, I put it in neutral, let it coast off the trailer, which that's good. It went in neutral and it rolls, which means that front pack, the rear clutch pack didn't get so hot that it, you know, warped it like it did last time when the cable was out of adjustment. But anyway, drifted it off, you know, moved truck and trailer, put it first, it jumped into gear like it always did and took off. Up the driveway, went pull here in the garage until I get the seal and the bushing. So that's a good sign. That's really the only thing I'm worried about it. I don't mind pulling it out and doing the bushing, the seal. It's not too much work. But as far as the innards of the trans, driving it for that mile, I was a little bit worried, but after seeing it go in the gear like that, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be okay. I'm probably just gonna put that stuff in it, put it back together, and see what happens, because I'm kind of tired of tearing this thing down. It was probably a good idea for me to stop when I did and pull over. You know, I'm sure there's people that drove around with little or no trans fluid for way longer than I did, and we're okay, so we're okay. And anyway, thanks for watching. I'm gonna get this thing squared up, and hopefully I get it squared up in time. We can hit at least with one more testing tune. If not, I do have another project to start on. As you saw, my 12 valve back there in the backyard needs a frame, and if you kind of paid attention to these videos, behind me under the tarp right there is a freshly powder coated frame with PRO 15 front and rear axles, new springs, new shocks. Yeah, so we're gonna do a frame swap. I rebuilt that motor on that truck like 2 years ago. It's got about 8,000 or 9,000 miles on it, and I'd really like to make it nice. So between the frame back here and then in my backyard, I got a 2-wheel drive we're gonna use for the cab and the fenders. It's actually gonna be a really nice truck when it's done. It's just gonna be a bunch of work. That's something I was gonna kind of take you on that journey, because I've had a lot of stuff apart, but I've never actually swapped full frames. Again, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.